Sarah Palin surprisingly actually appears to believe in the reality of climate change, but with an important caveat. She doesn't think that humanity or anything it does has anything to do with that. Let's give her a chance to defend herself.
We can't predict the weather accurately next month, but we're supposed to believe these experts can predict exactly what the weather patterns will be in 100 or 1,000 or 5,000 years from now. Right. Look, I'm not a denier. I don't doubt that climate change exists. I live in an Arctic state. As governor traveling around the coastline, especially up in the Arctic, you can see changes based on this cyclical pattern of climate and weather are always changing. We can see the effects of changing weather patterns, not only on the coastline, elsewhere on land, but no one has proven that these changes are caused by anything done by human beings via greenhouse gases. There's no convincing scientific evidence for man-made climate change. The climate has always been changing.
Yeah, but it doesn't change a shit ton in 8 years or in 20 years. That you can't. Her analogy that because it's hard to predict the weather, we can't look at changes in climate. First of all, weather and climate are entirely different things. But that would be like saying that because one person dies of Ebola, how can I trust anything you say about disease? Really? Yeah. That's ridiculous. One specific case of something that's unrelated to it does not mean that we can't do core samples of ice from the Arctic or the Antarctic, that we can't track down CO2 levels that have been trapped in that going back hundreds of thousands of years, and we can show definitively that it is not a natural cycle. This is distinct and different.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Could you tell me, Jimmy, there's a difference between climate and weather.
Jimmy, it's really impossible to tell what the weather is going to be like a month from now, much less 100 years from now. So it's really part of the cyclical cycle. I am a little impressed that she said cyclical.
She said cyclical.
That was good pronunciation.
But she was thinking of a bike when she said that. She wasn't thinking of this pattern of the weather.
Plus, I'm pretty sure she had cue cards, and it only said cyclical on it. As a reminder. By the way, I love that she's been doing this thing, her video channel, for a while now, and her strategy to appear professional is to look like deer in the headlights. Like, she looked horrified there.
Yeah, she did. Probably because she knew she had to read the word cyclical, and she was worried she might mess it up.
Well, they just took pop off the front of it so she could read it. Pop cyclical. Anyway, but every time I see her now, and she starts talking, it sounds like someone doing a sketch of her.
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
she's always so stupid. She's always so ridiculous. It's funny.
Jimmy, I feel like this is just part of the lamestream media. Instead of focusing on my well-researched message, you're just attacking me for being a woman.
I like how they just, it's funny too, like the people who are climate change deniers, they just spew out easily already debunked points.
I know.
But they always come up with new easily debunked points, like John Coleman did in that last segment with the Antarctic ice. And she comes up with you can't tell me what the weather's going to be like in 1,000. That's not what we're doing!
No, and here's another thing that drives me crazy, right? So there are two different camps, okay? Camp number one is 97% of esteemed scientists that have done very credible scientific research into the issue of climate change. They all agree climate change not only exists, it's man-made, okay? And then the rest of the scientists, that's camp two. Those are the individuals that are pseudoscientists that are being funded by the Koch brothers. They're literally getting paid to lie to the public and say that climate change does not exist or that it's not man-made, right? So for her to stand there like a deer in the headlights and make an argument that there's no sound scientific evidence indicating that climate change exists is so utterly ridiculous. And all you can really do is look at her and laugh at her and make fun of her. But in reality, there's a serious point to take away from all of this. It's assholes like the Koch brothers. It's morons like Sarah Palin and all the other Republicans that deny climate change, that's literally going to lead to the destruction of this planet, okay? Yeah. So the fact that we're just going to continue pretending as though this is not a big issue scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. So you guys were talking about the easily debunked points that she was throwing out there. She also has a new one, or at least sort of new, coming from her. Let's listen to this next clip.
Climate change is to this century what eugenics was to the last century. It's hysteria, and a lot of it's junk science. And when it's as discredited as eugenics, a lot of people are going to look very foolish and heartless. Why heartless? Because this global warming, climate change hysteria hurts the poorest among us. We hear all the time about how liberals supposedly care more for the poor than conservatives do. But for the sake of climate change, liberals hold back the poorest parts of the world from the kind of development that we have in America. Let's choose health and prosperity for all the world's citizens, not just the latte liberals looking for a cause.
Yeah, nothing says healthy like breathing in all that smog. I really like that.
Yeah,
Bitch.
I trust Sarah Palin that I think she does know as much about climate change as she does about eugenics. I trust her on that front. But of course, the ridiculous thing is that the climate change hysteria is not what's harming poor people. Climate change is what's harming poor people as it destroys their agriculture and leads to civil conflicts that is already killing many of them in various parts of the globe.
Right now. I mean, what's happening in the Middle East is a direct result of climate change, what's caused a drought in Syria, and then the farmers came in from the countryside. There's got no water, there's no food. They're looking for stuff. Assad overreaches, he shoots them. We got a civil war, and guess what? We're back bombing in the Middle East. So this is directly tied to climate change, and you know, it's people like Chuck Todd, David Gregory, George Snuffleupagus. They'll bring people on like Sarah Palin or Senator Blackburn from Tennessee, and they'll pretend like there's still a debate. They'll bring on Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's got science right in his name.
Exactly.
Got science right in his name. Yeah. And then they'll have, on the other side, this literally happened on when David Gregory, one of the last weeks, he was on, and then they brought on Senator Blackburn, that woman from Tennessee, and she was the science denier, and they had a science guy, and hey, well, there's the debate. We just gave you the debate.
But you know what? I actually don't mind that, because when you have someone like Bill Nye debating a climate science denier, like, let's expose their stupidity. Right? I mean, at least you're creating a platform where that kind of debate can take place. And look, some made the argument that Bill Nye debating a creationist was stupid. I actually thought that was good, because exposing stupidity is what the media should do, right? But I also don't like when anchors or journalists want to seem objective, and in doing so, they're just neutral. Don't be neutral, do your job. Objectivity doesn't mean you have to be neutral, okay? It means that you point out who is freaking lying in the debate.
Exactly.
So if that didn't take place, then I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
Yes, well, that never takes place. They always are neutral, and they make the mistake of being neutral instead of objective. You can be objective and still say science is real.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll be on firm ground there. And finally, Sarah Palin posted sort of a similar idea on her Facebook page, but I want to read it because I think it is a perfect example of both everything that conservatives love about her and everything that liberals hate about her. She says, "In the meantime, don't buy into the global warming con simply because it's hip with celebrities and limousine liberals who consume more fuel and emit more emissions, bebopping around in their private jets and multiple mansions than the rest of us ever will."
Does this woman really want to talk to us about luxury?
Private jets and limousines. I think she does know about those as well.
Yeah, like the same person who got in trouble during the 2008 elections because her suits cost more than most cars do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
amazing.
think that she flew to Fox News coach Southwest, probably not. And we also know, by the way, that she does use limousines. She was using a limousine the night that her entire family got into an Alaskan backyard redneck brawl. Then they piled into their limousine and they drove away.
You know what else people who are liberals use? They also use medicine. They also use roads and bridges. I mean, just because a liberal uses it, it's automatically discredited. They also use books.
Exactly.
They also use books.
Those are suspect.
Yeah.